Did anyone else get like a Logan's Run feel from this episode? No? Just me? Okay. What I mean by that is, this episode, of the third part, I guess you could say, well, fourth part, excuse me, the fourth part in this five-part story this episode, to me at least, felt very reminiscent of, like, the 60s, 70s era science fiction films like Logan's Run and Westworld, where it has that kind of utopian society kind of feel, but at the same time it feels wrong. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm trying to get at, is that's what it kind of reminded me of, like, Logan's Run and Westworld. But anyway, let's talk about this episode, The Zoo, which was a very fun episode. Steven is finally reunited with Greg, and we find the descendants of the first humans that were taken to the zoo. Now, genetically speaking, and I talked about this before, but I'm going to go a little more in depth with this because I'm going to lay some science on you guys, because God forbid I ever do that. The big thing with this is that evolutionarily and genetically speaking, these humans would look totally different. They all look very happy and beautiful and, healthy, when scientifically and genetically speaking, they would not. Because at this episode where they say, you choose him, and there had to be only an X amount of humans, clearly, and it looks like it's a small number that is towards the end, and the thousands of years that's been between, they would look horrid. Like, I'm talking hills have eyes level inbreeding. That's what I'm trying to get at, is that they would not look like that. That's what I'm saying. Also, you have to take into account that the whole thing is that they've evolved for over 1,000 years in space. I don't care if it's artificially gravity or not. Then again, this is magical space gem stuff, so maybe it's a little more grown there. But had it, even then, and again, I'm talking about science in a world of magical polymorphic sentient rocks. That's what we're dealing with here, folks. But evolutionarily speaking, they would also look, not only would the genome be completely off kilter, they would look vastly different. Their bones would be completely weaker from the gravity, even if it's artificial gravity, really. Yeah, but then again, I am talking, we're injecting science into a show that, tells science to go suck a cock, so we have that. Anyway, so, this is a good episode, don't get me wrong. I know I sound like I'm bashing it, but I'm not. This has been a really good episode because, like I said before, this episode gives me a lot of feeling of like the 60s, 70s era kind of science fiction film feel, where Steven and Greg know, it's a perfect utopian society, almost, but Greg and Steven know this isn't right. They may be happy, but they're still trapped. They're still, I wouldn't say prisoners, more they're pets. They are quintessentially pets in a zoo that, they don't seem to, well, the amethysts seem to be like, okay, calm down, it's just animals. They're like, the amethysts are pretty much like zoo handlers for animals, really. And there is some great moments in here where Greg teaches them how to do a cannonball, and I love the moment where what's his name, G7? It's something 7, where he's like, when Greg says, you don't, people shouldn't have to tell you to choose who you should love. You should choose that for yourself. And he goes, I choose Greg. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. And then Greg completely destroyed everything. It wasn't his and Steven's intention, mind you, but yeah, that's kind of what happened, sadly. But yeah, I did again, this episode was a lot of fun. It was a nice little breather, really. This episode felt like a really nice breather for, after the mountains of the past 3 episodes, we kind of needed a moment to just go, give me a moment. That's what this episode was. There was some great moments in here, and it's always cool to see Steven and Greg, hang out and have fun buddy times. But yeah, this episode is quintessentially a breather in this saga, and it's kind of funny because it's the penultimate episode to this story arc, at least, to this story arc. And next episode, we'll be getting the conclusion to it, which I'm very much looking forward to. And yeah, this was a great little episode. It's nice to see that when we first heard of the zoo, we all thought, according to Pearl, it was like this inhuman place where the gems just use them for amusement and all that. But no, it's actually kind of a well-kept place. Even under Blue Diamond's jurisdiction, it's being well-kept. Just as how she wanted it. So it is bringing up a lot more with what Blue Diamond, Pink Diamond was. Because it always seems like, because I talked about this at the beginning of this whole story arc, was that the whole thing is that Pearl called it like this inhuman place, and it is almost inhuman in a way, but it's not to the total point of being mistreated. I mean, yeah, they're still pets, but they're essentially, pets, but still, it isn't as bad as Pearl said. And it makes me wonder, what was Pink Diamond doing with a zoo? Because it seems like they didn't seem to give a crap about humans for the most part at the beginning. Like I said, it's that whole thing for a show about colorful, such colorful characters. This has a lot of gray areas in it, doesn't it? But you guys tell me, what did you guys think of this episode? Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys get a science fiction feel, like early 70s era sci-fi feel to this as well? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.